This past weekend, Anchor Girl and I took a drive up to Midland, Ontario, located on the southern shore of gorgeous Georgian Bay, about an hour's north of here, where I got to meet with Gary the water guy at his shop and pick up the new water filtration system that we're going to be installing here on Boogaboo. Now, Gary was good enough to go over the ins and the outs with me, and we talked about the installation and what to expect and fun stuff like that. So here is the interview that I did with him at his shop. Okay folks, we are here today in beautiful Midland, Ontario, talking with Gary the water guy. And like I mentioned in one of my previous videos, Gary's going to be helping us out with this funky, fantastic water purification system that we're going to be installing on Boogaboo. And Gary's going to help explain how this thing works so you guys get the true technical background of how this system works.
So it's super simple. It's actually what's called a three-stage ultraviolet system. So the first stage is that water flows in through here. So the first stage is a sediment filter. It's a 5-micron sediment filter. So 5 microns is smaller than you can see.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that there's no particles going past the light that are bigger than the bacteria that would shield the light from killing the bacteria.
Right. And the light is the UV light bulb, which will activate, and that will kill any potential bacteria that's passing by it.
Exactly, as it flows through.
Yeah.
So then the second stage is a carbon filter. So carbon filter removes chemicals from the water, herbicides, pesticides, that kind of thing. Also improves the taste. It's a taste and odor filter.
Yeah.
So once the water's gone through the carbon filter, then it goes across here, flows across the ultraviolet light to kill the bacteria. This is a 1 gallon per minute ultraviolet light. And then it flows from here to wherever it's going, into a holding tank or wherever it's being kept.
Of course, this is designed as a residential system, so in your house, it would just be going flow through your system, so when you turn on your tap, it's good to go.
Exactly.
As opposed to, in our case, we're going to be pumping the water into a holding tank for use at a later date.
That's exactly right. So that's the difference in terms of how you're using it in a boat than how you use it in a house.
Now, you and I had briefly touched upon this when I posted the last video when I was introducing what we're going to be doing here, that a viewer had commented that if the light isn't on, there's a potential of bacteria crossing by. Membrane is a bad terminology, but if the light's not on, you're potentially not killing bacteria. So on the other side, in my case again, using the holding tank scenario, we may have an issue with bacteria coming through the line. But what we're going to be doing, in my case, is that this will be more of an on-demand system, so that when the switch is turned on, how I'm going to be plumbing it is the pump will be activating. The switch will activate the pump and the UV light at the same time. So I will be free flowing some water out before we're pumping it into the holding tank. So we will have that clean, clear flow coming out before we're actually putting it into the holding tank.
That's exactly right. So in a house type situation, we've got water flowing through, and then there's an open water line going somewhere else.
Yeah.
So the UV in a house type situation has to be on 24/7 to make that barrier between potentially water that has bacteria in it and water that is treated. Yeah. Where in this, you're going to pull the hose out, so that air is going to make the break between the water that has bacteria in it and the potable water.
So the only difference is that in a residential system, the light will be on 24/7, right?
Exactly.
That UV light, so even if there's stagnant water in the system, it's still going to be treated by the light, right?
That's
the bacteria being killed.
That's exactly right, and we don't have to worry about bacteria, if the light was off, growing through here and growing downstream of here to reinfect the water once we put treated water.
Yeah, okay. But again, for our case, our scenario, we're going to be turning it on, running the water, and having that clean, clear flow out before we're actually putting it into the holding tank. So that's how we're going to be overcoming that potential of bacteria getting past the UV light. This is the exact same setup that we had on the last boat on Boogaboo 4, different manufacturer, but the exact same. We had the 5 micron pre-filter, and then the charcoal filter, and then the UV light. The only difference was how ours was set up. The way we bought it was the filters, and then the UV light was way downstream where I had a place to install it. And again, the reason that we're using this particular model is because this will fit into the space where I want it to fit. So, all good. And now the light, I think somebody had asked me about the UV light. What is the lifetime expected of that light?
Well, the light is good for 9,000 hours of use, which works out to 1 year, 365 days, but being on continuously.
Right.
So when you shut the water off and turn the light off, basically the time stops from there. So in terms of this kind of use, you're probably looking at a couple of years.
If not more.
If not more, yes. It's just, like I say, you can degrade the lamp by constantly turning it on and off. Okay, there's a small, so to create a margin of error, I'd say a couple of years, maybe 3.
Is there any way to test to see if the light is still actually doing its thing, like on site, as opposed to bring it in, or just err on the side of safety and just replace it every couple of years?
That's what I would do.
I guess you would recommend to people in a residential system replacing it annually?
Yeah, in a residential system, yeah, they were replaced after, like I say, 1 year.
Okay. Yeah, and that's just an easy out, in and out. And again, with the light, I'll show you when I'm installing the thing on the boat, or sorry, the system on the boat, is that this is never immersed in the water.
That's correct.
There's a glass tube inside there, right?
Exactly.
So even if this was out, you're not going to be spilling water all over the place.
That's exactly
so
right.
It's an easy maintenance issue.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And then the filters, what is your recommendation? Obviously, it's going to depend on the condition of the water that you're drawing out, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So this filter, the sediment filter, I would have an extra one on hand, because once that filter's clogged, water's going to slow right down.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would have an extra, but it's like a $6 filter, so it's not a huge expense. The carbon filter, you'll definitely get a season out of it.
Yeah. What we did on the last one again with the system, we had, I think, 3 extras. I would start at the beginning of the season, put a fresh 5-micron filter in there to start it off, and then we always had 3 because we usually used to try and be out in the clear water of the big lake before running the water through the system, because where we were in our prior marina, as I mentioned to you, it was kind of swampy down there, so we didn't really want to introduce that. But just for testing purposes, you run it once, take that filter out, and it's brown. So we always had extras because you never know where you're going to be pumping, and it's again, it's cheap reassurance to have those extra filters on board, right?
Absolutely.
I'm really happy, before we go any farther, to share this with my viewers, because I never did this on the last boat. Even though we had the system, I never even thought to talk about it or share it with everybody to see how beneficial it is, not only for us in our type of boating, but perhaps RVs and that whole lifestyle branded of water filters.
Well, that's exactly it, because people hate carrying those jugs of water.
Yeah.
It always boils down to the same thing. They're heavy, they're cumbersome, you have to remember to fill it, all that kind of thing, and it's finite, right?
Yeah. Well, again, as I mentioned to you, where we boat, sometimes the marinas that we get to on the road, shall we say, and where you go for a pump out some fuel, and, oh, do you have fresh water? Yes, we do. Yeah, no, it looks kind of, no, actually, it looks sketchy. It's coming out of wells and old systems, and I'm not going to mention any marinas by name, but we know what we're talking about. So this is, again, a great backup, and where you don't have to worry about running out of water, because we're always on water, so we have a virtually endless supply.
Absolutely.
Now the final part of this installation is the actual transformer.
Ballast, actually, they call it.
Ballast. Okay. And that would be powered up, and then that side goes into the actual light bulb, right?
Right.
And this is a 12-volt system, but of course the majority are going to be AC 110-volt systems for residential uses, right?
Right.
But this thing would draw probably next to no power.
Yeah, it's super, like we, at the Cottage Life Show, we have these for cottages that are off the grid.
Yeah.
So folks use that for solar systems.
I was just going to say, yeah. So we'll never run out of power for that too. Or never have to worry about running out of power to run it. So that's fantastic. Looking forward to installing this on Boogaboo. And I think you mentioned that you're going to come down and see what the final product looks like.
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to seeing it installed in
Yeah.
Boogaboo. And I'm not a boater, so I don't know a whole lot about that, but I'm looking forward to seeing how this can be used.
Yes, no, you'll be impressed, and I'm hoping again that maybe you get a little bit more business out of this, that whole segment of business. Finally, I just want to mention that Gary, if you haven't looked at his website, he has a very expansive online e-commerce store. So more than everything that you see in the background here is available on your website. Like I was mentioned to you, I was happy to do this partnership because my viewers who are not only local, but they're all across North America and beyond, at least the people in North America go to your website and buy the components that they need if they want to put a system like this in, if they need filters or anything else. And of course, you have a very expansive YouTube channel as well, where you talk and you give hints and insights for viewers to hopefully buy some product off of you too down the road, right?
That's right, GaryTheWaterGuy.com.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, well, okay, Gary, I thank you for your help and your time today.
Thank you, Paul.
And next step is going to be taking this to the boat, putting it in, getting it running, and then we will see you aboard Boogaboo.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, take care. That's it for now, kids. We'll see you back on the boat. Well, that was fun. Thanks again, Gary, for taking us through the whole system and how it works and what to expect. I am looking forward to doing the install and having it here aboard the boat. I hope that you will look forward to seeing that installation video coming up soon. Now, I'm also going to be leaving down in the description a link to both Gary's website as well as his YouTube channel. I think I mentioned before, he has something like 4,000 subscribers now. He's got well over 100 videos on how-tos, everything that you might want to know about water filtration and water safety in your home, so I encourage you to check it out. If you do go there and comment, don't forget to tell them that the Boogaboo crew sent you. And that's it for now. Next thing I got to do is gather up the rest of the pieces that I need to make that all happen here on the boat. So, like I say, look forward to that video. Thanks again, Gary, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.
Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe so you don't miss any of the new videos coming out. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Daily updates there, and always lively conversation on Facebook, so you don't want to miss it. And you can also follow us at boatsbeachesandbars.com, where you can find even more links to all sorts of neat things, including our online store. And you'll find all the links to everything mentioned up here, down there in the description, so you'll have no excuse not to follow along. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.